Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Squeenix taps the brakes on Deus Ex, really to the surprise of no one. And Linux is going to get dirty next month. Oh yes, it's rally time.
Valve is blocking gambling sites again, now that people are starting to complain, and Ryzen gets a release date that I'm sure won't be pushed back at all.
The EU cracks down on regional pricing, or the lack thereof, Steam is so fond of, and Skullgirls doesn't make it into EVO. Again, and a teary-eyed developer says, we don't need it anyway.
I apologize on behalf of Linux Gamecast Weekly, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits. We do this all under Linux on all ends. It is a bit brilliant, joined every week by our man up north, Master Svang.
I mean, I got a half chub, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. And our Space Bureau in Portugal.
Why, hello there.
That is one Pedro Mateus, along with Shot Realm Dynamic, joining us live, as you should be, for this Saturday night train wreck. Before we get started, we do like to see what's going on in each other's life organs, just kind of do a bit of catch-up and maybe a little bit of mustard and a dash of relish. But over here in Finland...
You gotta relish that opportunity.
Yeah, man. Not a whole lot. I'm not tempting fate, but you kind of get to the point, I think Jordan's got like, nothing's really went wrong in a few weeks. So the worry thing kicks in, and no, I'm kind of like a cat and like skittish. I'm like, wait, is that about to go wrong? Wait, is that about to go wrong? Because that's just how life works. What's up, J Baby?
Oh man, I have new hard drives that I get to feed my server. Yay! Also, Expanse Premiere. Holy crap! Give me more. Why do I have to wait another week for more of this? Give it, put it in my face. Oh.
Yeah, well, on my end, I finally had to crack open the pack of Amazon rechargeable batteries because the mistress, finally, the batteries that came with it finally died while I was playing the game we're throwing chairs at this week. It's like, oh, that's a thing that happens. Right. Really awesome battery life.
That's pretty good, man, because, you know, the horse is known for its battery life.
The horse is, but it's generally just a gamble to see how long it will last. It's the Steelers update.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you might remember from a couple months ago, Valve was cracking down on people who were running gambling websites for CSGO skins, items, and whatnot. And as it turns out, of the various games that Valve sells hats, gloves, various haberdasheries through, the slightly more popular one is Team Fortress 2, and people have started to think that maybe, hey, we can start gambling with Team Fortress skins because Valve doesn't give a shit about that. And apparently enough people have complained to the point where now they do. So, I'm a bit surprised they didn't try to nip this in the bud. They're starting to block these sites that are using Steam OpenID for the service for TF2. I'm pretty sure we're going to get another story a few months later about them doing the same thing with Dota because Valve is a slow-moving behemoth.
I don't know, man. I just sometimes think, Honey Valve don't give a damn because, like, hey, man, this shit makes us money, so we don't want to cut off that spigot. This kind of reeks of, like, a little bit of lip service. Like, yeah, we're totes going to do that. And I'm like, not really. Hopefully it'll blow over.
Yeah, no, it's this time around, it's not even a strongly worded letter. It's just, please don't do this. The blog post. Yeah.
Well,
so, speaking of Valve getting into hot water, as it were, the EU is going to start investigating the lack of regional pricing with, say, Steam games. And you may be familiar with that, especially if you're, MFox Dog or Kloinka, all those people who watch us who live down under Nazi land.
Who are not in the European Union, I might add.
Yeah, but if this
Australia
goes
isn't
through,
Europe.
I guess...
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, no, but if Valve is going to get hit with the EU hammer, they're just going to change it because why would they keep two different systems for two different parts of the world? This is Valve we're talking about. They're not going to do that.
Exactly. This is Valve we're talking about. If they can squeeze more money out of anyone, they'll do it.
No, but that's the thing. They're a bit lazy. And if they have to change it, they're just going to change it for everyone regardless. And it's not just Valve. The EU is also going to crack down on Asus, Denon and Marantz, Philips, and Pioneer. Because those four tech companies are also doing some shady stuff with their online pricing regarding,
don't forget Namkai Bandai and Capcom.
Yeah, Namkai. The gaming companies are Valve, Namco, Capcom, Focus Home, Koch Media.
Hey, ZeniMax. Yay, Dynafighter.
And Bethesda, yes. But yeah, I'm all behind this one, and really the only thing I have to say is I guess it's better late than never, right?
Well, it's definitely a thing, and I mean, this can be negative, but it can also be positive. A lot of people forget that. I mean, if you're looking at like the Indian rupee or, the Russian, what the fuck ever it is, looking forward to that.
Freedom Unit.
You get like prices that people who are definitely not making like the national or the world income, whatever, that they can afford these types of games, and they're not getting screwed. But then on that side, which I completely understand, in Space Australia, they're like, what's up with this 30% markup? And it's like, because fuck you, that's why you're gonna fucking buy it. What are you gonna do? We're the power company, we're Valve. So, and then in Europe, we'll see. I mean, it seems like the European Union's always like poking around and cocking up with things, but this might be a good thing.
They've already forced Microsoft and Google to amend a few things that they were doing in the past. Didn't really help much, but at least it was a bit of a kick. It's like, we know what you're up to. Stop.
So, I mean, what we're really going to be seeing is in a couple months, prices in various EU countries will be going down. I think they may even just do a blanket thing where it's like, oh, you pick a set of 2 digits and that's what your game is worth. So it's going to be €9 or $9 or whatever, blah, blah, blah. No one really knows for sure. Because Valve hasn't got their lawyers involved yet.
It's probably going to be around 60 freedom units if you're going to be picking up. That's right, Dirt Rally.
It's going to be dirty.
The fine young cannibals over at Feral Interactive on their Twitter feeds challenge yourself to the most authentic rally game ever made with Dirt Rally coming to Linux on, yes, you guessed it, March 2nd, which I was like, oh, that's the thing. I woke up to like Josh, the walrus, you might know him from PC Bird. He's like tweeting about the Linux, and I was like, God damn it, no, I have to fucking play this with you, and you're just going to go zoom, zoom, zoom.
That's gonna be a fun
admittedly,
stream.
I was a bit at fault with that one because I did say when Feral first shared this on Twitter, I reshared it. It's like, I can finally get my ass handed to me by Josh Walworth. And he was like, yeah, that's going to happen.
All I can think of is another racing game I have to play and throw chairs at.
I don't know. I was kind of looking at it as like, man, we've come a long way, baby, especially considering we're going to get Dirt Rally before Distance leaves early access. That's
well, I mean, Distance will leave early access at the heat death of the universe. So I mean, that's kind of
chances are we're going to see a Vulcan port coming out of Feral before Distance ever leaves early access. So,
and before we get off this topic, I just want to say, Feral, I would have shown your WebZone page, but it auto plays music, and this is not 1996. Okay, that said,
they have that YouTube trailer set to autoplay. That said, this is Enter the Gungeon. It's a free update for anyone who owns the game, and it's basically free DLC. You get 33 new guns and items, 7 new enemy types. There's the Mind Flare for those.
Wizard's gonna sue somebody. That's trademark, motherfuckers.
No, that's the thing. They do they take the Balrog.
It's separate and legally distinct. We got it. Yeah.
They just take the names and they associate it with guns and other type of ordnance. So the Mind Flayer became the Mind Flayer, and it's now a new option.
It looks like a Mind Flayer out of the monster manual. Watsy's gonna sue somebody.
Then again, they already had the Beholster, which was a beholder with instead of multiple eyes, it had multiple hands and multiple guns. But yeah, it's the supply drop, and they also introduced new NPCs. There's a challenge mode, and one thing I've actually really wanted for a while that they didn't have in the game was the ability to say you get to the end of a particular level in the dungeon, and you couldn't save the game. You weren't given the option of just quitting to the main menu and restarting the game from there when you had more time. You would always have to start from the beginning. But now they've added a teeny tiny button NPC to the wall next to the elevator that says, you can save your game here if you want to go do something else. So thank you for that. That was kind of, something that should have been there from the start, but hey.
It looks like a fun game. Enter the Gungeon definitely does. I just can't get over, because I know it's one of those things I'm going to play for like 15 minutes and go, oh, it's kind of neat, but I just can't pull the trigger on that $14.99.
Yeah, it's Isaac with guns.
It's a gun, pulling trigger. Ha 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 ha. Clever.
Okay. Ark, everyone's favorite game to look at and be like, man, how slow can we make an Unreal Engine 4 game perform under Linux? This is the benchmark. But they have patch 2.5.4 out, and it brings jousting? The hell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's jousting. So at this point, they've basically caught up to Neverwinter Nights circa 2006. So I guess that's something. Yeah, no, Ark is one of those games.
Come on, Bob Ross.
Bob Ross!
Winning.
Bob Ross!
Yes. Ark is one of those games I will only start to actually care about when they finally introduce Vulcan. And they said they would.
Oh,
so
look, they've
waiting
actually put the sheep in there when they were trying to win the best animal thing. Right.
They made good on their word. They also added hairstyling because, oh my god, girlfriend, you can finally get rid of those gaudy, disgusting split ends that you've been sporting for the past 3 years. And they've added mech suits and robot dinosaurs. The 8-year-old me is vibrating right now, but I already own this game. And I'm not gonna play enough to get to that point because that's all end game content, and we don't have an Ark server where we can do like Shat Realm dinosaurs. That would be miserable.
We could set that up, but
yeah, no. But I mean, it's good to see that they're updating it. I guess I don't know. But I just like that picture of Bob Ross. That makes me happy. But speaking of things that make me happy, this isn't one of them. This is Hunt, the Unknown Quarry. It is a deductive combat game for 3 to 6 players. It's kind of like a board game. It reminds me a bit of Werewolf meets Kill Dr. Lucky. And Foxdog brought up the Clue or Cluedo, depending on where you live comparison. And I would say that is apt. It is free to play. They do have some $10 DLC. Does that actually include anything?
Well, basically, it's free to download the installer, but if you want to play the game, it's $14.99.
Or there's like additional boards or characters or something in the DLC, and there's just the one mode. Either way, it's cheap as free, so you can pick that up. It's just it's a board game. It has online multiplayer and allegedly cross-platform multiplayer, so you might give that a shot.
The thing is, you need at least one full version in order to host a game. You can join someone else who has the full version. But you can't really create a game with just a free one.
I see how that works. They're doing the old Mario Kart Game Boy Advance thing, which I guess kind of works because you get one person to buy it and the rest of you come on in. I wish more games would do stuff like that, because for like multiplayer stuff, like Towerfall would be kind of cool if you could just have one network Towerfall.
Yeah, Towerfall would be great if you could just play it online.
Yeah, that's something we can say for a great deal of minigames that we cover. But Vidar is no Russian name. It is Village in Middle of Nowhere and silly early access RPG.
That looks like RPG Maker.
It does look like. Thank you for reading that thing I wrote in the show notes, Pedro.
Oh yeah, you did mention that.
Yeah, so this is Vidar. It looks like it's made in RPG Maker, but it is a game in which there's a story and relationships between multiple characters that are randomly determined every time that you play, which seems kind of interesting given the limitations of the game. There's also some time-based aspects where like you can only show up or things will only happen at specific times of day to basically create a unique or quote unquote unique experience every time you run through the game. It seems interesting, but it is in early access, so you got to take it with that grain o chainsaw. Yeah, it's 25% off right now. I'm seeing this in GBP. I don't know what this is in Canadian money because I don't know how to convert pounds.
Well, it's kind of a tough sell, Brad, because its regular price is $19.99 wet stinky freedom units, but it's currently for an early access for something that looks like it is probably done in RPG Maker, or maybe somebody got really fancy with Unity. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. And the whole premise just. How is this different than all of the other RPG Maker roguelite?
How dare you question my artistic vision?
I mean, it could be good. I like the idea of randomizing relationships between various NPCs so that if they die, different stuff happens. Sort of reminds me of Westworld, almost, sort of, kind of, not really.
So it's roguelite Stardew Valley. Great.
Seems legit. But you know, he's the bane of international communism everywhere. It's Satellite Repairman.
Well, I don't know about international communism, but this one was made with a fully open source software stack. Yes, I didn't get that at all. But no, this is a game built in Godot. If not the first, no, there's actually already been games in Godot on Steam, or at least Steam Greenlight. I know that for a fact. But this one is actually available.
The saying, all right, check this out. System requirements, any distribution. I got a copy of Red Hat 5.2 that like a word with you, son. All the planets in the system. So what do, man? You basically just like fly up and repair satellites? Is it just like that on the nose?
Basically, yeah. You analyze the satellites as you're going around that teeny tiny world. As you can see, there's already a significant degree of curvature. Go around the world, you check satellites, you check other buildings to see if they're working properly. If they don't, you have to repair them. How that works beyond that, I didn't really care because I was looking at the screenshots and like, yeah, that's not something I'm particularly interested in. Although they now have full controller support. That was like the latest hotfix.
Didn't Empty send this one over? Or?
Yeah,
yes,
sent this one over
Empty was the one who mentioned
all
it.
done in Godot. Foxdog actually picked this up. He seems to be enjoying it.
Yeah, he seems to like it.
All right.
I don't know.
All right, well, I guess that closes off the Steam news segment. Coming up next, Nvidia. Just how deep do you believe when you bite the hand that feeds?
Well, stick around for the news, but first and foremost, there are some very special people we'd like to thank this week, and you too can be one of those people that we thank every week when we start to whore ourselves out.
Well, it would be next week, because if you donate now, the show's already in progress. We're not real time. These are we're not the aliens from the Arrival.
We can be. We can be.
Shut up, Pedro. You're out of your element. But yeah, no, head on over to LinuxGameCast.com. Click that support the shows button. We got all sorts of lovely things for you to peruse, like Amazon affiliate links. We're working on getting some more for all the various countries under the sun so that you can go buy stuff from Amazon, and we just get a little bit of the taste. It doesn't cost you anything, but it supports us a good amount. We also got some PayPal donato links. Do you want to give us a one-time or recurring donation? But the best way to continuously support us is to head on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. Oh my god, I have so much saliva in my mouth. 1 second. We're at 96 backers now, including we got 2 new ones. We got Justin Chrysler and Adamu, however you want to pronounce it. We also got a new, speaking of the PayPal links from prior, we got Bradley Torson. He kicked us in some shekels via PayPal as well. We are approaching that 175 goal, which means we get bi-weekly streams where we just prototype new shows or just stick around for a couple hours every Tuesday and Thursday. It's going to be a little mental. We also have the $200 goal that I'm hoping that we never get to, but you know, if you guys want to make me miserable, that's the way to do it, because we got to make me play Serious Sam 3. Yep, we can't do this without your support. In fact, we won't do it without your support, because I don't know. I don't have a follow-up to that.
It's kind of beautiful. It's kind of awesome. We also do a Wednesday show. It's pretty neat. We don't want to give anything away, but we might have a very interesting guest this upcoming Wednesday. That'll be brilliant. And thanks for your support. You make this happen. We do appreciate, any donations or, any extra coin you got laying around, because, we're trying to fight this fight. We're trying to fight this war. And we want to keep doing it. It's pretty brilliant.
What we do in the name of not peace and sanity, but the name of Linux Gamecast.
Brilliant.
Speaking of which.
Well, this isn't drivers. That's a change.
Yeah, Ben. Tell us about the new cards.
Hey, man, it doesn't always have to be drivers. This is NVIDIA's interest in GeForce Founders Edition graphics card continues to grow. We'll be competing with add-in board partners, or as I like to call it, 3DFX 2.0. This comes from WCCF Tech, all this business in the show notes, because NVIDIA is planning to make some more Founders Edition. And, well, because they did that last year, and I kind of get a feeling in my gut organ that this is NVIDIA, when they released the Founders Editions last year. It's like, oh, let's just kind of, see what we can get away with here. Because, that whole thing was basically just called, market research, bitches. Because it was like, hey, are our partners really going to flip their total shit? But then again, I was trying to look for some numbers. And the best I could find, these are not the most recent, but in Q2 2016, NVIDIA had 70% of the market share compared to AMD's 30%. So they are in a frighteningly good position to start trying some of this. And if you don't know the history, this is what happened with 3DFX with the Voodoo 3 series. They started making their own cards, competing against, their vendors, and their vendors went out and made NVIDIA cards instead of 3DFX cards, and we know that story.
Yeah, if I were an IHV, I'd be giving NVIDIA the side eye right now. What are you trying? Why are you trying to... We had a good relationship, and then you got to ruin it. You're biting the hand that feeds you, NVIDIA. I don't know how this will actually turn out. It may just be... They might just be focusing on, like, boutique high-end stuff, but... I mean, I like the vendors. They're the ones who typically put out the cards, not Nvidia. They just sell them the GPU and they put it all together. It's going to be kind of hard if Nvidia is going to sort of undercut them in terms of price because they don't have to pay for Nvidia licensing and whatnot.
I don't think it's going to be as big a thing on the price because if Nvidia starts actually selling the Founders Edition cards with the same $100 markup that they did with the 1070 and the 1080, I don't think there's going to be a problem there. The biggest problem, and we actually mentioned this on the Wednesday show, it's that NVIDIA literally set out an embargo for all of the add-in board partners that said, you can't sell for these 2 weeks. We only have we're going to only have the Founders Editions available. And that caused a freaking entire shortage when it came to the 1080 and the 1070. You couldn't get them anywhere because...
See biting the hand that feeds you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, at this point, that's going to be the biggest thing. It's like, oh, so you're going to sell your own cards and for a month or 2 weeks after release, you're not going to let us sell ours? Yeah, no.
I don't know. Let's just hope. Listen, man, this is speculation. We don't really know what NVIDIA is really working on here. We just like, oh, maybe this is definitely going to be a thing. What we really need is AMD to continue working and pulling a summer and getting it shit together. So, because you don't try shit like this if you have some serious ass competition. Yes. Already, I can already see the autism drive spinning up to talk shit to me. He's like, but AMD is the competition. Listen, man. We love AMD, but AMD needs to, just do a little bit better. But we'll see. This could be all for naught, but something that is not for naught.
Yeah. So it confirmed Half-Life 3. No, not Half-Life 3. It's Ryzen. Will be launching early in March, according to Vermison Su. They're AMD's chief executive. Apparently, they have a Zen 2 and Zen 3 coming down the pipeline. But the big news here, of course, is that come March, we should start seeing Zen chips in your local PC parts store or Amazon or whatever. We still have no word on price or anything like that. Yeah. But I will bet you a nickel because every time we've heard AMD say, "Oh, it's ready. We're gonna push it back." So I'll bet y'all a nickel, an American nickel, not like some bullshit Canadian monopoly money nickel, that it's gonna be pushed back to like late April, May-ish.
I honestly don't think so. I believe AMD when they say that at least the 4-core 8-thread and the 8-core 16-thread Ryzen CPUs will be available at that time. If they're going to delay something, it's going to be the Vega GPUs. Those are going to get delayed considerably.
You mean M. Bison?
No. The actual... Sagat ones? No, the Vega ones. We don't really know APU wise, like say if you wanted to get a laptop with an APU, what kind of performance you can expect from that. They've only been addressing the desktop parts right now, and even then, all of the leaked benchmarks we've seen up to this point, they're isolated and they're running either an outdated version of any given game like Ashes of Singularity, And you see that performance, but you can't really compare that to any of the more recent benchmarks from, say, a competing Intel processor, because it's not the same game version. And there are people in the comments on this article is saying, it's like, yeah, but we want to see the benchmarks. And there are other people who, kind of like me and Jordan, are going, where's the price? How much is this going to cost?
That's what it's going to boil down to, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is 100% on that price. Because if we have something, let's say it gives, the i7 like a decent run for its money.Maybe it's not faster, but, it's 150 quid cheaper.
Yeah.
Then you have a product.
It just needs to be competitive.
And that's what I'm saying. We're looking for it. I don't know. I mean, because some people are saying, well, they're going to have a 6 core variant. Some people are like, no, they're not. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. 6 core, 12 threads. Get me in under 400 wet stinky caches. Then we have a conversation going about, okay, because I really don't want to have to buy an Intel processor. And I was also reading something today that there's going to be some Intel processors with AMD GPUs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the rumor mill. That's the booga booga drive right there. We don't know for sure, because Intel's been making some headway with their Iris Pro GPUs. But I don't. It's not quite as good as the dedicated offerings from, say, Nvidia or AMD. But we'll see if that actually comes up. People are shocked though that like Intel and AMD are cooperating, and it's not like they've been doing it for the past 30 years.
And even just talking AMD APUs, the APUs graphically have been able to outperform whatever Intel has been able to offer up to this point when it came to their integrated graphics processors. So yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. Intel processing power and an AMD GPU.
Not on Linux, bro. Not on Linux. Up next.
Deus Ex series on hiatus for the foreseeable future. Oh no, say it's not true. It's 100% absolutely true. They do say that the company will be shifting that Squeenix its focus on the upcoming Marvel game, and to that I retort, well, with all the pre-order controversy around this critter, no one's surprised about this, and well, if we're just going to be perfectly honest, if you take a look at the game right now, currently with Deus Ex, which we currently have thanks to Feral on Linux, the Windows version of this game runs like busted ass. The Linux version runs like 6 busted asses.
If you're on AMD. I mean, my theory was maybe the story about corrupt corporations ruling everything, rampant discrimination in an environment where everything can be hacked. It's a little close to home, but yeah, Ben's makes a little more sense.
Fueling the paranoia crowd, yeah.
Booga, motherfuckers.
As much as I'm a big fan of the whole conspiracy theory, no, this is actually just a result of them basically not doing anything new with Mankind Divided itself. They just rehashed a couple of stuff from Human Revolution and made a new campaign for it. And that's okay, but when the game comes out riddled with performance issues, and there was the whole augment your pre-order thing that Ven mentioned, yeah, no, that's probably a good idea.
Well, I mean, Deus Ex was kind of like with that, the crest of the pre-order bullshittery that we were dealing with last year. That and like Evolve also pulled that, and I think they were like definitely the two poster childs of like doing it wrong, Brad. You're doing it wrong. So they're coming back, regrouping, and all that. I'm looking forward to playing Deus Ex when I hopefully get a Ryzen CPU. I think that will be.
It's still going to run like ass on AMD, man. That's just Feral has if AMD ass.
Well, they actually did have that. If you look at the SH launch file for Shadow of Mordor, there's actually a conditional that if it detects an AMD card, it runs in low memory mode. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's get competitive, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed, but not for Skullgirls, because the EVO votes for which games would actually be featured in this year's EVO, which is the fighting game big esports competition. They voted on a number of games, and Skullgirls did not make the cut. You can see it right there in the player's choice, but it's not going to be in the main event. The developer, Mike Z, that's the Z from Lab Zero, he said that they've had really good support for the game itself, and there's already a bit of a community behind Skullgirls, if you will. And what he said, I'm trying to find the exact quote here. Let's see. Where is it? I can find it. But yeah,
the one where he's talking about
sounds,
it's whoever wins, whoever loses. This is how you build animosity between communities.
Yeah, that's the one. And he said that I'd rather have a community of 1,000 roses than a community of 1,000,000 weeds. I don't care how many people see us. I care about the good people that are fair to each other. And that,
I think you
that
misspelled weebs, but go on.
No, the article says weeds, but that sounds more than a little like a developer throwing a hissy fit because his game didn't, win, didn't make it into EVO itself. And considering Skullgirls' sordid history with Linux in particular, to no fault of Civic, we love you, Civic, I'd say that just a little bit of karma was due when it came to them. And also, as much as I enjoy Skullgirls, and I play the game every now and again, its reliance on infinite combos and how you're basically fucked if you can't pull it off. It's not exactly what I want to see in a competitive fighting game. I'd rather see someone fight the controls in, I don't know, Fighters Megamix for the Saturn than to see the same 3 or 4 moves repeated ad nauseum in Skullgirls. I'm sorry, I just don't.
I mean, the salt is a little justified because Ven, you and I were talking about that earlier, where voting with your wallet means that if someone who's really, really rich really wants this game to win, they can put their financial weight behind it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they lost the popularity contest. Big whoop. Like, Skullgirls is sort of in that same sort of niche that Guilty Gear and BlazBlue is in terms of like anime fighters and whatnot. So here's what I would suggest is start up a bunch of smaller Skullgirls tournaments catered to your fan base. Focus on that niche. Make sure that these guys are happy as opposed to trying to be big in public, because no, let's be real, no one really cares about Skullgirls all that much aside from the people who are actively playing it. And I mean, if Zenata can have like 2,000 players active at any given time and you are actually a kickstarted game with a big media blitz, I'm sure you can figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thing. I mean, it didn't come across as like, no, listen, I know it's very important to have your game into these competitive fighting tournaments, or just competitive gaming, especially the EVO and all that. I'm absolutely not a fan of voting with your wallet on that, because you can have 2 or 3 people completely throw it every single time. But Skullgirls is a fun game. It's too advanced for me. I'm too old. Because as soon as like combos showed up, like Mortal Kombat 3, I was like, get off my lawn, you damn kids. I like the game. I'd like to see more popular. It's very niche, and it has a very like rampant, feverish, devoted community to it. So I say let's just rock on with that and be happy with the base.
And
I mean, I'd like to see it
very niche, because I'm looking at Steam charts right now, and they have a 30-day average concurrent player base of 155 people. That's
maybe they should start engaging those Linux users now that they've shut out that port. All right, so I didn't know what a construct was, let alone aside from like a golem or a homunculus or something like that. But apparently, this is a content creation toolkit, web based. For making games targeted at people who are completely new or need a leg up to make some web-based games. It's all done in HTML5, JavaScript, and so on. So it's lots of web technology. But they've one of the problems they've had previously is they've had to hook into a lot of third-party libraries that aren't available on the web to provide functionality for stuff that they want. So they found a way around that. They have compiled them into asm.js so that they will run in your browser. That will be interesting because, Unreal Engine 3, Unreal Engine 4 does it. Unity can do it to some extent, though I've never actually seen it work particularly well. Hell, even FreeCiv, they figure that stuff out. And they're FreeCiv. But a couple new features in this version of Construct is offline editing. So there is an offline mode for your browser. And they're going to be releasing a desktop version, which I suspect will just be an Electron wrap job.
Yep. Considering how focused they are on the web technologies and getting it to work, in the browser, yeah, it's just going to be an Electron app. They do say for users of Construct 2, they're going to keep the Construct 2 build for the foreseeable future. They're just going to focus on maintenance for it, and all the new features and all the new functionality will be targeted at Construct 3. But if you are using Construct 2, you can still keep it.
Yeah. Looks like a neat thing. We do love our Electron rep piles of bullshit, but still, I mean, it's good to have tools like this because, you know, everyone needs Babby's first game engine, including every single one of us at one point in our lives.
But it's called Unity.
No, you know, sometimes if you don't want to go through the trouble of getting Unity on Linux set up, you can do it through Chrome on Linux. So, coming up next, we flap our wings and pretend to be birds and get yelled at by our mentors. And then we throw some chairs at them because fuck them. Fuck them in their stupid owl heads. You know, I actually don't know how to tell whether an owl is a boy or a girl because it's like a cloaca, right? I know with parakeets, they have like the different color bands on their noses, and that's the easy way to tell them apart. What I'm getting at is we're throwing chairs at Owlboy this week. It's from D-Pad Studio on the lovely FNA engine, and helped the wonderful and sexy Mr. Flippity-Jibabo Ethan Lee. He ran his sexy fingers and caressed his keyboard and helped produce this for us.
Well, did the OS requirement give it away?
Yes.
Yeah. Also glibc OS, of course. It clocks in at around $24 if you're in the United States, $30 if you're in Canada, and 22 euros if you live in that moon country that I'm going to say Mordor. What is it? Never heard of it. Owlboy is a high-bit adventure game where you can fly and explore a brand new world in the clouds. Pick up your friends, bring them as you explore the open skies, and then drop them from insane heights and laugh as they die. Overcome obstacles and greater enemies in one of the most detailed adventures of this era. So let's kick this off with the chairquisition. 1 chair means that's garbage. 2 chairs means that's meh. 3 chairs means that's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's amazeballs. We also got our categories. Oh, Doom. Thanks with the working. Shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's get on into this. Caca, then. Caca.
Squawk, squawk, blam, blam. Fuck, I'm dead. But not in this game. Over here on the box of business. The 8150 980 powered UHD displayed. Running the Ubuntu 1604 LTS. Everything worked, man. I mean, every single thing worked. No problems, great frame rates. Just a smooth experience. I really tried to mess around with it, going from, 3840 by 2160 back to 1080p. Didn't care. Just laughed at me. And I really wanted to set it on fire because that's what I do to things that laugh at me. But I couldn't. I really enjoyed it. Good times. Had by me. 4 chairs if I can get the thing to load.
Ha 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 then. Haha. Yeah, on Fedora 2464-bit with the GTX 980 i7 6700K in both the full screen and windowed modes, because those are the 2 resolution options you get. It runs at 60 FPS because while this game is beautiful, we'll talk more about that later on. It is not that demanding on your system. FNA is fairly well optimized, and these sprites are sprites, so they're not really hitting 3D acceleration. So 4 chairs for that.
Yeah, and it doesn't suffer from that other FNA game we threw chairs at recently, which didn't scale when you set it to full screen. It just upscaled. I can't even remember what it was. But yeah, it would just upscale 720p to 1080p, at least on my end, and it looked awful. Here, that's not the case because it actually scales properly when you set it to full screen to whatever your monitor's resolution happens to be. So on my end, with Ubuntu Mate 1604 and the FX 8370E and the GTX 1080, I had absolutely no issues. 4 chairs.
All right, well, that's 4 chairs for Mixed with Working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Ven. It's Hipster Pixel, so you hate it, right?
I love it. Just put it all on my face, chest, and neck, man. It is all over me. It's really nice to see a Hipster Pixel game that doesn't make my epilepsy bleed. Huge fan of that. What this game looks like is something that was produced on the never-released Super Duper Nintendo, because this is like Super Nintendo. They're really clearly going for that aesthetic, but it's just got an extra plus organ on it, and it really shows off. It's bright, it's colorful, amazingly detailed. This is hipster pixel done right. The only time I've seen something done this right, this true to form, would be like Axiom Verge. And that was basically, I'm going to make Metroid with more pixely stuff. Really in that vein. I'm digging it, man. I mean, the sounds, the background music, they're all legit for what they're going for. I never had a SNES, but, a couple of my friends had a SNES, and I was like, man, this is like being 8, 9 years old and sitting back and playing this business. Again, it definitely brings back those types of memories. And I mean, it's completely spot on for what they're trying to do with this. So I don't think I've ever gotten to do this with a hipster pixel game, but yeah, out of the box on this with a 4.
I think Hyper Light Drifter also got 4 from you for hipster pixel stuff. That, and again, that was an example of just absolutely gorgeous pixel art. They're actually doing something legitimately cool and beautiful with the medium, as opposed to, oh yeah, no, this is a hipster pixel game that's actually a gig in size because we can't write engines. But I mean, if you look at the blogs of like the visual artists who worked on this game, you can easily tell how much effort these guys put into the aesthetic. Everything is just so lovingly done and shaded. It all looks great. I love the faux comic book shading style they use when they do that big siege cinematic right after the first dungeon. There are lots of little cool environment transitions. The environments are beautifully done. Sometimes they're a little limited because you just go up and they're kind of just these weird transition spaces. But that's sort of a homage to that style of game done on the Super Nintendo. Speaking of which, this looks way better than anything the Super Nintendo could crap out. But again, they got the notes right. It's an homage. It's supposed to evoke that feeling and improve it because we have computers that run trillions of operations a second as opposed to that little crappy MIPS processor that the Super Nintendo had. But yeah, no, the environment transitions are really cool as you like change areas. It'll start combining aspects of like the two areas, and that'll start fading away as the new area comes into dominance as you transition through it. It's super well done. The animations and the cutscenes and whatnot are fantastic as well. Everyone emotes so much, and it's just so lovingly done. I can't stop gushing about how beautiful this game is. The sound is there. It really is evocative of that era of games where it's sort of like this mysterious but mystical type soundtrack. It's very well done. I will give this a solid 4 chairs. Bravo, guys.
It looks good. It looks really, really good. And I can already hear some people going, oh my god! Pedro likes how a pixel platformer game looks. Fire and brimstone must be raining from the skies. No, I just hate lazy pixelated graphics made by people who don't give a fuck and just want to skirt by on the whole quote-unquote retro look. The visuals in Owlboy, even though they are evocative of the whole 16-bit era, they're really finely detailed and they just look good. The one thing that really kills it for me in the shiny and the sounds, it's the background music. It didn't really do it for me, and I just ended up muting it because it got in the way of the atmosphere in some scenes, and if something is going to get between me and my immersion while I'm trying to enjoy a video game, if I have a say in it, it's going to get noped. And that's what happened. I guess they also tried to keep the whole sound effect thing simple but effective enough to complement what's happening on screen, and it works for the most part, so I can give it a solid 3 chairs.
Yeah, Pedro's just mad that they didn't get Hate Beak to do the soundtrack because it's a game about birds. They need a band fronted by a bird to complete the package. That's 3 chairs for shiny and sounds. Up next is Control, then.
Well, something a lot of development houses and game studios, they just get hella wrong because they're going to make something Nintendo hard, which isn't really Nintendo hard, but it definitely harkens back to that era. But, when I see hipster pixel, it's like, yep, okay, it looks the part, and then, you grab your controller organ, and you're like, yeah, that's usually where they fall flat because they have some bullshit, laggy-ass controls, and I know this cliche is tighten up the controls. A lot of games definitely need that. Because if you're doing retro platforming and you really want to do it legit and you want to do it right, the controls need to be wicked tight. Unintentional rhyme. Ladies and gentlemen, these controls are wicked tight. Everything is spot on. You notice this immediately when you start playing the game. That you got something a bit special, something some genuine love went into. Like Super Rad Ray Gun. The controls were okay. This really makes you feel like you're playing some 16-bit era, well done platformer, and just good on you lot for doing that. I'm guessing you could. I was playing with the X-Clone controller, no issues. I guess you could play with a keyboard, maybe if you hate yourself. I probably wouldn't suggest that, but yeah, another 4.
Yeah, because this game is using FNA, everything works out of the box. You get correct button prompts on whatever controller you're using. I was using a DualShock, and lo and behold, I don't have to stop for every time I see a button prompt and go, okay, what does that actually mean? Because the X on the Xbox controller and the X on the PlayStation controller are two very, very different things. The one weird bit I had was just using the triggers for Owlboy's stuff, or using the triggers for like the shooting and the grabbing manipulation, because I keep assuming it's been wired in my brain so far that square is the do stuff button and that's just the drop your ally button. So that's what you saw while I was screaming and streaming that game earlier this week. But I figured it out. Yeah, 4 chairs. This very well done controls. No complaints.
Yeah, I played 5 hours of this game up to this point, and I'm coming close to the end. I can tell by the way the story is shaping up. And I played it all the way through with the, as much as I've played, with the Mistress, aka my Steam controller. Thanks for that, Lockdown. Still very much enjoying it. It did run out of battery at one point, and I'm like, why can't I move? Why is this? And I look down, oh, it's shut off. And I turn it back on, and the light just blinked for a little bit, and then it went down again. I'm like, oh, so you do run out of batteries. It was still using the batteries it came with out of the box. So I was genuinely surprised by that. But I got some new batteries in, and it's really good. 4 chairs.
All right, well, that's 4 chairs for controls. Let's wrap this up. Ven, did you have fun playing Owlboy?
You know, really, I enjoyed myself. I did. That's very fair to say. I think the only negative thing I can say about Owlboy is that it's almost borderline too easy. Because I always get worried when I see something like this, because it's like, old man Ben can't play the hard platformers anymore. Then, you go play something on an emulator, SNES emulator, Genesis, and you can still kick ass at it. It's because a lot of this hipster pixel bullshit is just janked. This isn't jank, man. I was like, boom, right into it. I'm just crushing it. And I'm having a great time. But I did mention Axiom Verge because that's about 2 hours into this game. And that's right where I like to get the game, because that's right where you have to make that decision whether or not you're going to refund it or not. I definitely wouldn't refund this because there's a lot of game left. I think the average playtime without speedrunning this is like 8 to 12 hours, something like that. And I want to go back to it, but I'm definitely going to go back to it. But when I say it's no Axiom Verge, is that game, I couldn't stop playing it for 2 days. I mean, if I had a free moment, I was back into that game playing it. This game, I'm like, I can hold off and wait. I want to get back to it, but it's not that hyper addictive. And Axiom Verge, it's 20 quid. This one's like 24. So it's definitely got that big price tag on it. And yes, I know, but it took 10 years to make it. I was like, that's some really fucking inefficient game development. I'm just being honest. Because, at the end of the day, 10 years to make that means fucking all hashtag Duke Nukem forever. Think about that. What I do wish, though, is that this game had came out maybe 5 years ago, because a lot of people are just pissing and moaning and screaming about the price. Understandably so, because we have had so many horrible hipster pixel games come out that the perceived value of them is not where this game is. You're like, well, it's just another pixel game. And I think it's reasonably fairly priced. You got to look back in the day. Something like this would have cost you, 60 quid. So I think 24, you're going to get it. It's got a lot of love. I'm enjoying it at 2 hours in, and I got to be kind of judicial about how I play it, because every time I sit down and play it, that 10 minutes turns into like 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. And I'm like, whoa, all right, get back out and go be productive and do other things. So, yeah, pretty high compliment. I'm going to have to give this, just a solid 3.
Yeah, this is just a really well put together game. I don't like the comparison to say something like Duke Nukem Forever, because there's a difference between something being in development for 10 years and then being in development hell for 10 years. Because Duke Nukem Forever was made and remade.
Well, this game has been accused
multiple
multiple times of being in development hell, so...
Yeah. But anyways, I mean, the levels are big and there's a lot of secrets and it encourages you to explore. And because you can fly around, that makes it really, really easy and really natural to do. There are some parts where you can't fly, but they force you to brain a little there. Like I said before, carrying the guy around takes a little bit of getting used to, but I like the idea of like switching up your approach, because you can use. I'm at the point where I have the big pirate guy and the little nerdy guy with the tiny gun, and you fight enemies in a very different way, because you have to wait for the guy to reload the big shotgun, but you can use it to burn away foliage and whatnot, which is kind of interesting. The story is exceptionally well written, and with the exception of your douchebag mentor, all the characters are really, really likable. They all have. It's all gotten to the point where, like, when they introduce a new character that actually has some bearing on the story, it's like, I kind of want to spend a little more time with them and like sort of learn their deal, because they're interesting. I also like how they really work hard to stay away from tropes. Like right away in the tutorial, they're like, okay, yeah, fly up here. Oh, we're gonna stop you because you're a failure. Ha ha ha! Go fuck yourself. Yeah, so I like how it plays with your expectations of how these things will work out, especially with the right after the second boss. They're like, oh yeah, we're just like, no, you're fucked. You're fucked. The gameplay itself is really solid, and the game doesn't treat you like you're dumb either. The puzzles, they're not really that hard. They require a modicum of thought. If your brain is drug-addled like mine, years and years and years of abuse, it may take you a couple minutes to figure it out, but again, not that bad. And there are all sorts of little homages and whatnot to all the various 16-bit and 8-bit games that you love to play in the past. All in all, it's a fantastic love letter to the SNES Genesis era of adventure platforming games. It is exceptionally well done. I really like this game. I will say, though, on the topic of the price, it is a bit pricey, but there is no part of this game that anyone slacked off on. It is all very, very well done. It is $30 in terms of quality. It's the same thing, not quite with Steven Saus's Roll, where if you like puzzle games, it's worth $30. This is genuinely worth $30. I will give this a solid 3 cheers. Good job, guys.
Now, some of you may remember how I've complained about how 2D IPS or pixel platformers usually do nothing but fuel the delusions of the nostalgia crowd and don't really innovate or push the limits of the genre. Well, Owlboy illustrates that point perfectly by proving that yes, you can actually innovate and you can push the envelope as to what constitutes a retro-inspired 2D platformer. It's a Metroidvania, which leans heavily on the Metroid side, which is often the side of that particular subgenre that I'm least fond of, but I still very much enjoyed it. Why? What is it that makes Owlboy so good when compared to that completely fucking pointless AM2R? Well, for starters, it's not a remake. It's an entirely new story, which is only made all the greater, in my not-so-humble opinion anyway, by having a relatable main character and using the story as the perfect narrative complement for the mechanics. Yeah, it's that spiel again. That is the mark of a great game. That's what puts Owlboy leagues above the rest of the video gaming mire that we call IPS or pixel platformers. It stands wing to shoulder with Half-Life 2 and Silent Hill 2 in the mechanics-driven narrative department. Otis, your main character in Owlboy, like Gordon Freeman in Half-Life, manages to convey more emotion and be more relatable without ever uttering a single goddamn word than Max Caulfield can ever hope to be. Yeah, that glorified para-protagonist pants you wear in Life is Strange has the emotional depth of a travel ironing board when compared to Otis. And Otis's big story isn't completely invalidated by the end of the game either. Now, admittedly, I haven't finished the game, so I don't really know how it's going to end, but I have an idea of how it's going to go, and I'm pretty sure they won't negatively surprise me in any way. And yeah, it's pricey, but you gotta pay for those 10 years of development, and those 10 years of development really did make a difference 4 chairs.
All right, well, that's 3 chairs for the fun, and we tally all of that up. Owlboy walks away from this with a clean 3 chairs. Check it out, definitely. It's pricey, but gentlemen, final thoughts?
I liked it. Again, I mean, I kind of wish it came out a lot earlier, because even knowing what I know and playing, and thanks again for the developers for sending the keys over for it, it, like, psychologically, I understand. He's like, oh, it's another hipster pixel game, and it can't be worth. It's definitely worth the price they're asking for it. It is very well done. You might want to go check it out. I mean, the puzzles are fun. There's a lot of times that I felt myself as like, oh, look, I'm being stupid on purpose. I can't figure this out. And you do get that little bit of accomplishment, like, yay, I'm smarter than a video game. That's definitely fun to do. So that's pretty much all I can say.
Yeah, the only point in this game where I've stopped and walked away and did something else were the boss fights, because you'll get into a boss fight and the chances are the very first time you're going to fail miserably, you're going to get killed. And I know this is going to sound a bit gauche to say, but this is very much like the Dark Souls way of doing boss fights, is that you go in and you learn the patterns and you die again and again and again until you know all of the patterns and you go, oh, all right, this is what we're doing. And it just, everything clicks into place. The moment that clicks into your head, the game just becomes awesome. And I got to a point where I had 3 boss fights in a row and I couldn't put the controller down. It's like, I want to stop. Let me stop for a little bit. I need to pee.
Okay, yeah. Pedro needs to go to the bathroom. That's the show title. It's very well put together. Like Pedro said, it's like any sort of hipster pixel game where you have to fight a boss and identify all the patterns. And I didn't feel like the patterns were too difficult. It was just like, oh, hey, I'm just being stupid. I need to actually pay attention to what the boss is doing. No, very well put together game. Highly recommend it. It is very well done. Ethan did a fantastic job helping out with the port. And I cannot sing this game's praises enough. Go check it out.
Yeah, definitely one thing I will say, because I meant to bring this up. You want hit back in a damn game? Almost to the detriment of the game.
Yeah, no, actually, speaking of that, I have an anecdote. In the pirate ship where you have to dodge cannonballs, I got ping-ponged off like 8 cannonballs and died before I could even recover. I'm like, why is this happening? What did I do to deserve this? Well, we'll find out next in the hate mail section. Nice transition, Jordan. High five. Yeah.
That we've ruffled all of the feathers. Well, not really, actually. That went smooth as far as that CHAIRQUISITION went. But now it's time for the hate. And since we're all male, might as well call it the hate mail. And if you want to get in touch with us, you know how to do it. Chances are, if you're watching the show, you've seen it enough times, you've heard it enough times. LinuxGameCast.com, you hit the contact button, you fill the form. Make sure to pick LGC Weekly for the hate mail right here, right now. Or if you watch that Wednesday show that me and Ven and Strider do, you can also pick LWDW on that particular box. But this week, and this is the one clause we like to reinforce if you're a game developer and you want us to talk about your game, send us 3 keys. That's all we ask for. And this week, someone actually did it right. The developers of Nihim.
Nihim?
Yeah. I don't exactly know how to pronounce that, but it's a single-player digital board game about rebuilding the titular city of Nihim after a lethal pandemic. Oh, so it's Neverwinter after the Spell Plague. Okay, cool.
That is a timely reference, Pedro. Considering that,
it's not Dungeons and Dragons. No, don't go there. That's just but yeah, it's available for Linux. The system specs say 4 gigabytes of RAM, shader model 3.0. That's DirectX 9 if I remember correctly, and 300 megabytes of available space. So you don't need an operating system, a CPU. Or, well, yeah, you only need RAM, a graphics card, and some storage.
I do like the one review on here. This is a good game.
Yeah, no, the reviews are actually
totally not typed out whilst having a gun pointed at one's head. Yeah.
They have 87% positive reviews, so I guess that's worth a look at the very least. And they did do it right. They sent us the 3 keys, so here's your plug. Now, as for, well, it's not even hate mail. I guess this counts as love mail?
Hey, man, we're not making this up. Bradley wrote this in. Do you want to take it?
I mean, you can go ahead.
All right. We'll see if we can work this out. Hey, he kicked us in a little bit of the PayPal thing.
PayPal.
Yeah, man,
yes.
and we're not making this up. I go by Bradley, not Brad. You do now. However, every time you're thinking out loud at a developer and you say something like, not a great idea, Brad, I always think you secretly know I'm listening, because we do. Unrelated suggestion, when you throw chairs, you should round robin who goes first for each category. Maybe we'll try that out. I know you love picking on Pedro. I do. But just for once, I'd love to hear his input on a game without him having to preface it with, as Jordan Vin already mentioned. Anywho, longtime listener, first-time donor. Sweet, delicious organs. I hope to contribute more as I can. Love the LGC Weekly, and I listen every week during my commute. Thanks for all your hard work. Sweet, man. I'm glad that you're digging it. And we're totally, because we're going to pump you for some more money. Not really, but you do know, man. I just want to say that because I listen to the podcast on my commute on Saturdays. We do 4 additional hours, If you got like 4 quarters laying around every week and you get over to the Patreons and do that, you can get like 4 extra hours of the pre-show, and it's pretty much LGC Weekly but an hour earlier. So if you dig but round robin, Pedro, would you like to go first sometimes?
I wouldn't mind actually having like the rotating bits with the categories, although I will admit that the whole, as Ven Jordan already mentioned, that is a bit of a crutch that I've started to rely on.
It's mostly plagiarizing. That's what he does. He's plagiarizing.
No, it's actually just a crutch for me to, avoid going even longer than I already do. So it's not a bad thing. Okay.
Also, I will add the current configuration is more a result of laziness than any particularly shitting on Pedro.
Yeah, just
because we have
happens.
a template that we copy paste for each week's show notes.
Yeah, we've never all of our stuff's organic, and I do want to point out what Empty said, which I was like, I guess we should point out. Our hate mail submission system is called Bradley.
because Slexy went down.
Right. Slexy went tits up too many times, and Empty was fabulous enough to create Bradley. And yeah, so
it's Bradception.
Yeah, it's total Bradception. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Brad.
That hurt me enough. You're doing a great job, Brad. Keep it. Let's go ahead and cue the music. You can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time, or Eastern Moon Time, whatever that is. Talk to the Googs, not the hand. But if you want to scream in my direction, I'm on the Twitter nets at Vinstone plus Vinstone on the G pluses.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me speaking the killing words that cause Ben great pain at Burning Pool on Twitter, plus Jordan Svung on the Google Plus.
I mean, Jordan isn't having a good week if he hasn't given anyone cancer with a bad pun. I, on the other hand, can't really say I'm immune to cancer. I'm pretty sure I'm going to die of it at some point. But until I do, you can always find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, or Plus with them with those on Google Plus.
So, gentlemen, did we learn anything this week?
Yeah, herpes isn't as bad as you think it is.
Okay.
That's a bit of a callback. How long ago was that? Oh, that was 2 hours ago. Wow.
Just remember, our pre-show is chock full of medical advice that you should really listen to us from, because I date a doctor.
Drink bleach!
I'm not a doctor, but I stayed in one last night.
Good times.
And see.
Five dudes.